afternoon, everyone, and thank you for choosing to spend your afternoon here with us. For those who don't know, I'm Patricia Ogun-Faber, and I do a podcast show to help people maximise property values. It's called Maximising Property Values. Very original. And it's on all the popular platforms. It's on Apple, Spotify, Google, Audible. It's on all of them. That, however, normally is just a monologue, just me talking. But from the 17th of November, I've added a guest series where I have had one amazing person come and talk to me. Now, this was supposed to be off. Come and talk to me about what they are doing in property. And my guest today is Tosin Talabi. We are going to get to know him a little bit more today. So, who is Tosin? He is an investor, a mentor, a medical doctor. Now, when he says medical doctor, so I've taken this from what he's put in his bio for this particular talk today. When he says medical doctor, he is actually being a bit modest, I think, because he's not just a doctor, he's a consultant. And consultants are one level above, actually two levels, aren't they? Because you've got registrar, then you've got consultant. Anyway, that's the sum total of my understanding of the medical profession. So, yeah, carrying on. And he's a philanthropist. He's a doting father and husband. He's a lover of animals. He's a golfer. He is a human. Oh, gosh. Who would have guessed? And he likes to be human in everything that he does. So that's a bit of an intro for you guys in the room. And on that note, I'd like to say, Tosin, thank you very, very much for coming on to this, and welcome to Maximising Property Values. But before we go into your property activities, we would like to get to know you a little bit better. So I've got 2 questions for you, perhaps 2.5. So the first one is, you are a medical doctor, even though you're not, you're a consultant. What is the most horrific situation that you had to face in the course of your work? Now, I don't know how strong I'm feeling, and I don't know how much you've actually experienced, but that was what came to mind. So I thought I'm going to ask it. So that's number one. Then the second one is this. So you guys take what is known as the Hippocratic Oath. So first of all, if you just explain to us really briefly what that is, and then secondly, if you would tell us if there was ever a time when you wished you were not bound by that oath. So those are your 2 questions, perhaps 2.5. Two questions. Over to you.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. And thanks for the lovely introduction, Patricia. And well, it's something you didn't mention, and I know why you didn't mention it. I'm also a military personnel. I work for the military, and I think I'll answer the first question as first of all. The most horrific situation I've had to face, and I don't mind my employers. I'm sure they won't mind me sharing this. Is when I was in Iraq, and there were 3 doctors. Oh, apologies. I'm working from home today, so I could do this series. So if you hear some noise in the background, that's my son. He has a diagnosis of autism, so you could hear some shouts once in a while, but it won't be frequent. So apologies for that.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, no
So
need to apologise. That's absolutely fine. No. We're all humans, so yeah. And it just dovetails really into what we're going to be talking about today. So no problems. Please do not apologise.
yeah. So I was in Iraq, and I think it was 2004, 5. And most of the people that come to me, I have to treat um, um, both enemy and friendly forces. That's what doctors are there to do. So there was this young man. For some reason, has a bullet in the middle of his head. For obvious reasons. And was for some reason he was still alive. And what we did, I was the head of a team of 5. You had an anesthetist, intensive care nurse, a medic. So we basically scoop the injured soldiers, put them in a helicopter, and start treating in the helicopter. So you can imagine in the heat, vibration, helicopter doing maneuvers, escaping firings, and all of that stuff. So it's very difficult to treat somebody at the back of a helicopter in that kind of scenario. But we do. The aim is to keep them alive until we get to the field hospital. So there was this young man. He couldn't be more than 23, and he had this big hole, and he knew it. But he was still talking, and that's just the amazement of the creator of the universe. How somebody can have that kind of a hole and was still talking. I can understand the medicine of it because it probably went through the mid bit, so it didn't cut any neural fibers at the time. But the blast will eventually take over and would probably would kill the person. But he was still talking, and he said to me, "I'm not going to make it, doc, am I?" And I couldn't lie, but I couldn't tell him you're not going to make it. I just said, "Look, let's just get you sorted out." And he gave me a piece of paper, and he gave it to me and asked me to give to his girlfriend and daughter. And I found that very difficult. It was very horrific because we lost him before we got to the hospital. And I, later in the day, I reflected on that, and I thought this very handsome, 6 foot, young man, a very handsome guy, and I thought, this was very difficult for me. That was the first time actually I had experienced anything like that. I experienced further things like that afterwards, but that was the very first time, and it took me a while to recover psychologically. But I didn't have time to recover because the next day we had to go again. But I remember that as if it was yesterday, because I had to do what he asked me to do and meet his family and all of that. It was quite difficult. Yeah, that was the most horrific thing I've had to do.
Wow, yeah, that sounds horrible, doesn't it? Especially if he
Yeah.
was talking and was anticipating that he wasn't going to make it, and then he's leaving his last message to his loved ones. Yeah, I can well imagine that. Do you know what? When I was kind of like thinking I'm going to ask you that question, I thought, is it a good question to ask? But then I thought we want to get to know you, and I think this is part of you, and this is one of the things that um, I'm finding very like humbling about the guest series, which is we all have different stories to tell, and we're all different people because of our experiences, and just getting to know that little bit extra about people that you won't find on LinkedIn, that you're not going to find on Facebook, that you're not going to find on Instagram, I think just brings that person to the fore a lot more. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. And your second question is this. So again, like you guys take the oath. When was so if you can share with us a time when you wished you were not bound by that oath. So you did not want to treat that person. You actually wished they were going to die. You probably actually wished you had a gun so you could actually shoot them dead. But um, what have you ever been in that situation before? And if you have, can you just walk us through it and how you actually resolved that internal conflict, if there was a conflict at all?
Oh, sorry, I was talking to myself. I keep doing this. Um, right. I don't think I've ever faced that scenario where I wish somebody dead. I think the good thing about medical school, you spend 6, 7 years in medical school. They kind of, if I may use the word, brainwash you, and you are you are engineered to. Well, most people, not all. You're generally engineered to want to save, to want to treat the ill, to want to share knowledge, and that's part of the Hippocratic Oath, by the way. You're engineered, and over the years, it just becomes part of you. And then when you do your postgraduate training as well, your residency, that is reinforced in your specialty. And I don't think I've come to a situation where, I wouldn't want to help. I wouldn't want to treat, even if I think the person could harm me, like, in the work front, for example. As long as I've made myself safe and I still want to help. And I think it's with that. It's like that with most doctors. Not all doctors I might have, and that's why in my bio I put being human. It's not everyone that has that being human. We're all human beings, and to be honest, if you put the human touch to most things that we do, and just be human, it's actually easier to be kind than to be nasty. And you actually expend less energy being kind compared to being nasty. And the more people realize this in anything they do, medicine, properties, in all walks of life, um, the better for humanity. And so, in terms of the Hippocratic Oath, we are obliged to share knowledge, to treat the sick, to conduct ourselves properly. And I think over several years, we're engineered to be like that, generally speaking. So, the only time I might add, if I know somebody is suffering, really suffering, and they were going to die anyway, but I still don't wish them dead. What I would do is to alleviate the suffering, maybe with painkillers, and just make them comfortable with music and good painkillers so they don't suffer. But I find it difficult to wish anybody dead.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you really are true to your bio. And for people in the room, if you want to listen to this after today, it's going to be on Clubhouse. It'll be under my profile, it'll be under Tosin's profile, and it will be under the club's profile, which is maximizing property pound, 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 only because I ran out of characters and could not write values. And if you tap on the link which is above our heads, you will be able to see hopefully your favorite listening app, and then you can just tap on that and you can subscribe to this. So anytime a podcast is released, you will get notified. So that is where we are, and this podcast will be released in a week's time. So next week, Wednesday, this will be coming out. And that leads us now to your property activities. Now, can you please just tell us? So, you're a consultant, so you're a medical consultant, and you work in the army or for the army, and you are also a property person. How do you marry them together? How do you make them work? What is the key? What is the magic ingredient?
Thanks again, Patricia. We really get upset when people say we are army. Uh, I work for the RAF, and because we all wear combat sometimes when we're out and about for convenience. People just assume that Navy, Army, and Navy, Air Force are all Army.
Oh,
Um,
I'm so
uh,
sorry. I thought you said army.
no, I am
Sorry.
RAF. We are the gentlemen of the forces. Um, Anyway, there is the not upset as in angry. I was just joking, by the way. There is this saying that says that it's just a joke, really. That says that the army are men trying to be gentlemen, and the navy are gentlemen just being themselves, and the RAF gentlemen trying to be neither. So it's just something we say amongst each other that we are the elite. We are the junior services. The Navy is the senior service, but we are the gentlemen of the forces. Right. In terms of properties, to be frankly honest, I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset right from the go. In Nigeria, when I finished medical school, you wouldn't believe it. You do your housemanship, which is a year once you finish, and then you do your national youth service. And just as I was finishing my national youth service, I bought But I always knew that I was not somebody that would depend on salaries. I always knew that. I finished medical school at 23. I was a doctor at 23. So I always knew that I would not depend on salaries. I just didn't know what I would do. And so after youth service, I bought a Danfo, which is like a bus. I don't know how to explain it, but like a bus, a Volkswagen bus, and put it in transport because I knew it could deliver me money every day. I also knew that there were high risks at the time because it could break down, the driver could tell you stories and blah blah blah. But then it did quite well, and I thought, okay, I don't need this money. I earned well for I still stayed. My job at the time actually gave me accommodation, so and I went home, to collect food. So I thought, okay, I'll use this proceeds to buy a second one. So by the time I was doing my first job as a doctor, I had two vehicles going out every day, making money for me every day, and I was going to continue in that line. But then there was a problem in Nigeria. I think there was some change in government. I can't remember the exact stuff now. There was a lot of problems, and things didn't go according to plan. I was going to build my transport business. Even as a doctor, I was thinking transport. And I thought, okay, then I left Nigeria. I came to this country, um, and we had Joshua, that's my son. And I came here to do obstetrics and gynecology. So for quite a while, I was in obstetrics and gynecology. And I also always knew that I wasn't a salary person. I needed something else. So I bought my first house in 1996, but I sold it because we had to go to Scotland to do my residency, 3-year residency in obstetrics and gynecology as a registrar. So we sold it. And then, about 1998, I bought another one. And this time around, we were in Scotland. I just felt I needed something. Oh, by the way, the reason I jumped from transport to property was that I left Nigeria. I don't know anything about transport in this country, and I don't think it's a private thing. And I met my aunt who had, I mean, I discussed with my aunt. We just started talking, and she told me that she had, I didn't know this when I was young. I just knew she was wealthy, but I didn't know how come she was wealthy. She had properties and now I was a doctor, so she could talk to me. She had properties in England, properties in Nigeria, and she straddles both countries. And she said to me, look, I have properties in Nigeria. I don't take money to Nigeria. The money I spend in Nigeria, I make in Nigeria. I have properties in the UK. The money I spend in the UK, I make in the UK. I said, wow, that's a good idea. That sounds like a good idea. So when I had some money, the first thing I did was to buy a property in London. I was living in Scotland. Excuse me. I bought a property in London. And uh, looking back now, that person must have been a deal packager because at the time I didn't know what the deal packager was because he just said to me, look, there's this property. You don't need to do anything. You just need to give me this money. I will refurbish it. We'll rent it out for you. We do everything for you. I know you're in Scotland, blah, blah, blah. And he did everything, obviously, he made his own money out of it. I did everything for me. And that house I bought at 120 in 1998. It's just under £500,000 now. That house has fetched me maybe 4 other houses and a few rental units in Nigeria. I don't want to say numbers, but it just shows you the power of one house. Because at the time, I didn't realize, I didn't know what an interest on a mortgage was. So it was a repayment mortgage. So the house prices kept going up, and I had very little money left to pay with this house. The rent was paying the mortgage, and there was very little money left. So I just kept taking money out of that house, just that one house, to buy more and to do more stuff abroad. And that one house, I mean, I had many other ones, but that one house, I can imagine it fetched me quite a few other houses. So, but I wouldn't really call myself an investor until maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. I just thought it was a good idea. Followed my aunt, bought a few houses, save, take money out of the old house, buy new ones, save, buy new ones. The houses I bought just before the crash, it was money, extra money I saved from Iraq and Afghanistan. I didn't need. Bought, I just bought houses rather than go on holidays. Um, but when I went to um, a meet, a property meet, progressive properties actually, like a tester session. And I thought, what is all these creative ideas? And that was 2016. And they were talking about assisted sale. They were talking about exchange with delayed completion, purchase this. What is all of this? I didn't know any of this, to be honest. HMO, I didn't know any of this. And I thought, wow, I've been doing it the wrong way. I had a bit more education. And I said, okay, this is interesting. I now started to use those strategies. I didn't do anything for 2 years. That's another thing. I didn't do anything for 2 years. I was too busy doing other stuff. But 2018, I started, big time. And I can tell you now that between 18 and now, just 4 years, just for 4 years, I've bought more houses than I bought the previous 15, 20 years. And I just shows you the power of creative financing. I've brought in JV partners. I've brought in all kinds of creative ways to buy properties. And yeah, so that's my property journey in a nutshell.
Wow, that is that is actually very inspiring. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. So 1998, so that was what, 24, 25 years ago. £120,000 to numerous houses now. And in the last 4 years, you just went to town. You just went absolutely kind of like crazy on the properties and bought more during those 4 years than you did in the previous 20. That is just amazing. Where would you say your your favorite investment area is? So the first one that you bought when you were in Scotland was in London, but now where would you say is your favorite investment area?
Yeah, I've got a few in London because, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I've got in Hampshire as well, but most of my properties now are in Lincolnshire. It took me a while. I wanted a gold mine area, if you like. I wanted a place where I could just start to buy properties. I wanted to follow uh, uh, Mark Omar Robmo's kind of, you know, um, model where you have a town, sizable enough to acquire hundreds of properties. And I chose Leicester. And this is very interesting. I chose Leicester. I looked at the demographics and I lost money. And I chose Leicester for many reasons. The demographics, it was big enough. There was good train line to London. And I knew that as a military person, I would be moving around, but I knew I would settle in Buckinghamshire. So there were many good reasons why I chose Leicester. I did my research, but I lost money. And I was just, I can't be spiritual. I can't reflect and meditate and pray. And I just reflected on this and I thought, okay, you right now you're in Lincolnshire. You work in Lincolnshire. They're going to be there for the next couple of years. Why don't you look around here? And then I started looking around here and I thought, oh, this is interesting. So I chose three towns where I invest: Grantham, Sleaford, and Newark. And I learned a lot about these areas. I learned a lot about the council, the local authorities, and just started investing in this area. And I met a few agents. A few of the agents now know me, and some of them actually call me first. They Tosin, look, would you like this? It's going on the market tomorrow or next tomorrow. Sometimes I say, yep, I'll have that. Sometimes I'll say, oh, my friend will have that. So it's good. Oh, by the way, every Christmas, I have, wine, biscuits, chocolates. I take to my estate agents. It's just something I do. It's just being human. And like I said, if you're kind to people, they will be kind to you. I've got so many deals that never reached the market. And I'll share one with you if Patricia allows me at some point during this
Oh,
guest series.
lovely.
Uh,
Love. It's what we
so,
love.
uh, actually, I can just go into that now. It's my latest acquisition. It's a multi-unit free block. And I like problem properties. People shy away from them, but over the years, I set the right move on Zoopla to alert me of properties who have been in the market for quite a while in my area. And I saw this one that has been in the market. It was on the market for like 3 years ago, then pulled out. It didn't sell. And I noticed it just came back on the market. And I give all my properties to one agent. So I'm, very, you know, very familiar with them. And then the letting lady told me, I said, look, there's this property that's on the market. I know the owner. I think they will accept any offer. I said, are you sure? I said, yeah, just put in an offer. They will accept. The man lives in Isle of Man. He's a rich man. He doesn't need this. He's retiring. Just give me all the lowdown. Now, this is a lady in the letting section. She's not even in the sales section. Okay, all about relationships. She gave me all the lowdown, and I said, okay, I'll have a look at it. And I had a look at it. Grade two listed, been on the market for quite a while. It's generating over £18,000. Why is it not selling? Something is not quite. So I went back to her. I said, look, why is it not selling? And she said, oh, it's going to be cash. I said, but why does it have to be cash? Oh, the next property is a Chinese restaurant. So okay, so why should that matter? I don't know. So I went to my broker and I said, look, again, I've got a party. It's good to have all these people that you can just call. And I went to my broker and I said, look, what is this about Chinese restaurant next to a property that is yielding so well and nobody's buying it? What's going on? Oh, he said, oh yeah, fire risk, and that a few lenders don't like, any kitchen next door because of fire risk. So it has to be specialist lending. I said, okay, here is the situation. Can we get um, lending on this? I don't want to tie down £200,000 on a property. That's not the way I operate. I like to use other people's money if I can. Other institutions' money, not necessarily people. I like, to use creative financing. He said, yeah, we can get specialist lending for this. We will do what is called, we'll do a bridging to long term. And there are specialist providers that can do that. I said, okay, fine. What do I need to do? He said, oh, but we're looking at 30% deposits. I said, okay, fine. I need to be sure I can get lending. So he went around and he got lending. I said, okay, good. So I went to this the agent and I said, look, I can see, that this was in the market 3 years ago. It just come back on the market, so you've not sold it for 3 years. You want cash only, and that look, you're not going to sell this for 198,000. It's not going to happen. So I've looked at the areas, I've looked at the comparables. I will offer you 165. And meanwhile, I had the inside story from the other lady that told me just make an offer. I would offer 165, and they came back and said no. They wanted something more, so I left it. And they came back to me and said, "Oh, the vendor wants to know whether you have cash." I said, "Okay, I don't have cash, but I can get lending, so in a cash manner." I said, okay. Then they went back again, and then they came back to me again, and then things had changed. Then COVID had set in. A lot of stuff had changed at the time, and I looked at it again, and I said, "I'm sorry. I know I did say 165, but I've looked at it again. Things have changed drastically. I really want this property, but it's great to list it. I've got to get consent, and my numbers are just not going to work." I was very honest about it. I looked at the numbers. They're just not going to work at that price. And she said, "Okay, how much would you offer?" I said, "Look, I will offer 152." So if I'm going to buy it cash, then you need to give me considerable consideration. So we are from 198 now to 152. And so I went to see it, and I made the offer, and I said, "Look, it's subject to structural survey because it's an old building, it's grade two listed. I wanted to be sure, so I did a structural survey that cost me £2,000." And I thought about it, and I said, "Why am I spending this kind of money?" I said, "Well, I've already brought it from 165 to 152, so I guess spending £2,000 just to be sure, and would be worth it." But again, from experience, I know that if things are really wrong with this property, I can use, and they are rectifiable, remediable. I can still use this survey to get more money off. I don't want to go on for too long, but quite a long story short, we did a structural survey. It cost me £2,000. All during COVID, we're looking at, I think, August last year, September. It was quite difficult, October. And The structural survey came. A few bins were meant to be replaced. Some things were meant to be done, here and there. Um, but you know how the structural surveys come out? There were like 20 something list of things to do. It looked bad. But when I actually read it, it wasn't really as bad as it looked. I sent it to a couple of my builder friends and I said, actually, we can fix this, with 5K or something like that. So I went back to the agent. I said, look, Sarah, I'm so sorry. I know we've agreed 152, but here's the structural survey. I've got to do a lot of work here. I didn't tell her how much. I just said, I've got to do a lot of work here. Here's the structural survey. You have a look at it yourself. Um, Take it to the owner. And the owner came back and said, I'm just tired of this property. How much do you want to buy it for? I said, 142. Okay, just get on with it. So
I can't believe this.
so just get on with it. Bought the house for 142. And so we got the lending. I believe, completed just before Christmas. And it's one of those specialist lending from Bridging. After 6 months, we go on to long-term mortgage. I'm going to do some work to it. Cost me £20,000. And the short-term lender, has given me a GDV after doing that work of £200,000. So uh, I'm going to pull out a lot of my money, and I think I spent about 30%. Maybe about £40,000 or so. 30% of the purchase cost plus broker fees and all of those fees. I think I spent just under £40,000. And guess what? For that property, and it's fetching me as we speak just over £18,000. So we're looking at about, £18,000. I spent under £40,000. So do the mathematics. We're looking at over 20% ROCE. I've not done the mathematics, but let's say I spent 40K. It's yielding me 18K. So we're looking at, over 20% ROCE. Now, but the good thing about this deal for me is that it was a problem property. If you look at it, you can always, find a solution. It's about finding solutions, adding value, and maximizing the property. Oh, and by the way, the money I spent on that property was not my savings. Okay, now this will surprise some of you, but maybe not all of you. I have very good credit, and that's why having a job actually can be helpful sometimes. I have very good credit. And I've got Barclay cards, MBNA writing me all the time. Come and take £20,000 for 2.5%, 0% interest, 2.5% handling charge, blah, 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 blah. And I used two of those credit cards to pay for this property. Now, yes, you pay 2.5% upfront, so over 18 months. So, and then it will go back to its normal standard variable rate. Now, if you're very disciplined, you make sure you pay all that money back within that 18 months. So I've borrowed money at 2.5% for 18 months to buy a property that is yielding me over 20% ROC. That is creative financing, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Do you know, I hate figures, and you have put me through hell, because as soon as you started, I was working out the figures. Okay, you've had that much reduction. Then you'd say, oh, and then this happened, and then I got it down to that. And I'd have to go back and rework those figures. But in the end, you got, well, according to my figures, which may or may not be correct, 28.28% off the asking price. That is commendable. Well done. Well done. That is just really, really good. And and also you're a very good negotiator, because lots of people would have given up and thought, oh no, I'm going to be too embarrassed. I can't do this. I can't go back to them. I can't do this. I can't do that. And also, I think what, just again, for people who are going to be listening to this, this is the situation you want to be in when you're not a motivated buyer, because it doesn't really matter to you. You've made the offer, and you sit back. You sit back, and now you've got this. Well, If it's a grade 2 listed building, it's likely to be gorgeous and you've got it and you're making money from it. Oh, honestly, amazing, 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 amazing. Wow. Now, sorry for people in the room. I haven't been able to pin up like Tosin's links for some reason. I don't know if any of you saw my earlier attempt. It just did not work. So you're back to maximizing property values, which if you tap on, at least you will be able to see your favorite listening app, and then you can subscribe to this, and then you will get notified when a podcast is released. Wow. I love it when people make money from property because the money is there to be made. And if we're not making it, we're literally just missing out on opportunities. And there's nothing and nobody that's saying to us, don't make the best of your assets, don't make the best of your knowledge, don't make the best of your connections. And if we can do those things and make money, oh my goodness. So, what was I think you've actually touched on this, but I'll ask you again because it might be something else, although I think you have actually touched on it. What was your eureka moment in property? What was like the light bulb moment that just made you just think, oh my gosh, yes, I've got it. I've got it. This is what I'm going to be doing. So I'm assuming this would have been, if not, I not so much your aunt, I wouldn't say, because that was way back. But in 2018, when you went, on the course, was it then or was it after that? Or, how did it happen? When did like the penny drop and you just say, oh yes, this is not something that I want to be doing maybe like, one every other year or one every decade. This is something that I want to really put my effort and my passion into.
Yeah, well, thanks again, Patricia. Oh, like my aunt did it, she was a businesswoman, so she would save money by, just buy rather than, yeah. So, I mean, I've surpassed her now in terms of numbers, and she's very proud of me actually. When I told her that she was my inspiration, but actually, the eureka moment was in 2016. Even though I wasted 2 years, didn't do anything about it. I went to Progressive's property, and a lady called Anne Holton stepped up and says, "Oh, I'm a dentist, and I've got 50 properties, and I've got this." I said, "Wow, how, how do you get? How did that happen?" Because being a doctor is very busy. Being a consultant, I'm also a trainer. I train doctors, and it's so busy. My life is busy, and how can she do? So she caught my attention. How on earth are you going to be a dentist? Your husband is a GP. How do you do this? So I had to listen. So that for me, and then when she went on about how she did, buy, refurbish, refinance, repeat, how she used her weekends, how she, used people in terms of her power team, how she had a team, and how she did the numbers, how she focused on particular properties that she could add value to. She made it look so simple, during that talk. I'm sure she probably doesn't know this, but she made it look so simple. And I thought, okay, here is a dentist who's been doing this like this for quite a while. So I have no excuse. Again, really, business is not part of it. Learn how to do this creative stuff and get on with it. And then I listened to her a couple more times, but late 17, I just said, right, I'm going to start now. And 18, I started. And then at 19, COVID. During COVID, during COVID, I think we bought about 4 or 5 properties during COVID. So you can always look for excuses. I mean, there's some properties we bought we didn't even see. It was the agent going there doing a WhatsApp video. I'm going to make an offer for one that they've just sent me. Oh, by the way, I use the Viewbar. I'm not advertising for Viewbar. I don't even know who they are, but I found them useful. I use Viewbar, and so there's no excuse anymore. So that was for me eureka moment. That okay, here's a dentist who has done it. I have no excuse, man. Just use your lunch break like I'm doing now. Um, Use your leave. use your weekends, and have a team that you can pay to go and do viewings for you, and do stuff for you. Just kind of leverage on other people's skills and pay for service. And so that's how I have adopted my business. I pay for services. I leverage on other people's skills and time, um, and um, and I use my time judiciously.
Wow. Oh, and Anne is such a lovely person as well. She is quite inspirational. And when she talks about, what she does and how she does it, well, she's up in Derby, isn't she? Really,
Yes,
really
yes.
lovely lady. Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, great stuff. Now, I know that you also like to help people because we cannot finish this podcast without you being able to tell people what you can do for them, which I know you enjoy doing and you love doing. So, if you'd like to tell people how you might be able to help them with their journeys, along their journeys, with what they're doing in property, that will be great because it'll be straight from the horse's mouth, not from my mouth.
Yeah, thank you again, Patricia. I've come to a stage in my life now where I consider myself blessed. You know, life has been good to me, and I'm in a good place. Um, I give myself a why. Why? Why do I need to make more money? I'm already comfortable, and the why was that I want to be able to, when I leave the military, to help people without missing my income. I earn very well as a doctor, as a consultant. I don't want to miss that income. So my why was that I want to replace my income before I leave the military in 3 years' time. Now I've achieved that, and so I'm going to look for another why. Now, why I want to be able to help people without thinking about everyday expenses. Um, it's that phase of my life now where I want to give back. I want to leave a legacy. So, um, if you're just starting out in properties and um, you get educated, but I can understand sometimes people don't have the money yet, or they just still want somebody to bounce things back. I'm happy to help. But I'm a very good judge of character. I know a time waster when I see one. And I'm happy to help people who are just starting out. They don't have to make the same mistake as we made. That's where my philanthropy comes in. I'm happy to be a blessing to people, to give back to society. I'm actually helping a few people now, who are starting on their journey. There's a young man who is doing a rent to HMO that I've helped. I've told what to do and pointed them in the right direction. So yeah, I'm happy to help people who are just starting out and people who are, experienced, who want collaboration. Um, I think outside the box. If you're looking at a deal and you're not quite sure if they stack or how you can finance it, I'm happy to talk through with you. I'm happy to collaborate. I'm not a believer of I must have my own thing. I'm happy to collaborate with experienced investors. I'm happy to mentor people. If you already have an outfit where you train people, I'm happy to do all of that. I just want to give back in any way I can, and I'm not, because of my employment, my current employment. I'm not as big on social media, so you will not see me all over the place posting. But if you reach out to me on Instagram text or on Facebook, sorry, on Clubhouse text or any of those texts, I will respond. And but you probably will not see me posting stuff and all of that. That's because of the sensitivity surrounding my employment. But yeah, that's the
Right.
extent.
Great stuff. So, people, please tap on Tosin's head to get you to his profile on Clubhouse, and just follow him so that you can, and then reach out to him, via the back channel messaging facility, if you'd like to get in touch. Leave your details, your name and your number, maybe, and he will be able to get back to you. So, do definitely, link up with this. Oh, I honestly do not know how you do it all. Being a consultant, being in the military, being a property developer, being a being being a devout family person, and being a human being at the same time. All of it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, honestly, amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you very, very, very much for sharing all of that with us. Um, and what I, so, where you are, just tell us, before we actually finish this off, why would people, or why would anyone, say for instance, want to come up and buy in that area? What are the attractions? What are the good things? What are the prices like? How much is an average house? What is an average house? An average house, I guess, what, a 3 bedroom house? How much is a 2 bedroom house, roughly? How much is a flat, a 1 bed, a 2 bed? People might be interested, and you would be a contact there as well. So please tell us.
Yeah, I chose this area because even though it's very far away from London, there is a main line station that goes through Grantham and Newark, and you can be in central London within 1 hour 20 minutes. So, and my my uh, my first tenants, a few of my first tenants were actually train drivers who couldn't afford London, but they get free ticket on the train. So, and they can be anywhere between London and Scotland. So the main line train station is a big one. Excuse me. And again, it's historical, but Margaret Thatcher was an MP, so was not MP, was brought up in Grantham. So I thought, okay, that's a nice historical one. I think she was MP for Barnet, but she was brought up in Grantham. Um, and then the other reason is that the house prices, except if it's a multi-unit or a multi-unit free block, I try to get to go below 125 if I can, because of the council tax. I mean, I still buy above 125 if the deal is right, but generally below 125. And there are very few places in the country now where you can get properties. You have to go really up north. Um, and this is Midlands, really, where you can get property for that kind of value. You can still get properties here for 125, 130, 120. Vanilla buy to let, 110. I got one for during COVID for 80. Spent 15K on it and refinanced for 130K. So put out almost all the money for me and the JV. So yeah, the house prices, um, the mainline station, and the fact that there are about three towns very close within 15, 20 minutes from each other, which is Grantham, Sleaford, Newark. Sleaford is slightly a bit more expensive, but the rent is slightly higher as well. Yeah, and, and Lincoln is not too far off. So, and Lincoln has two universities. So it's a nice area to nice areas for the price for the rental market. I mean, I hardly have any void. I can't remember the last time I had void in this area at all. Um, so yeah, those are the reasons.
I was literally going to ask you about that, about how easy it is to get tenants, and also what the typical yield might be. So you hardly have any voids. That's answered that. So that means that there's a healthy demand for accommodation, I would have thought. But what about yields? How is that working out?
Yeah, yield is okay. I think it's about 6-7%. So it's okay. I go with ROC, return on capital employed generally, and I don't do deals that are less than 10% in terms of return on capital employed. But in terms of yield, I think 6-7% in this area. Again, the good thing about this area also is a warning. It's probably again the reason why I like this area as well is this: if you go up north, you get good returns for the money you put into the property. But in most areas, you don't get any appreciation at all. If you stay in London, you get, if you don't know what you're doing, maximizing properties like Patricia does, you don't get much for your money, but you get appreciation. I know it has stalled now, but that would change. The good thing about this area, the Midlands generally, Birmingham, I'm not in Birmingham, but the Midlands, Birmingham is West Midlands, I'm in the East Midlands area. The good thing about this area is that you get a bit of both. a bit of both worlds. The appreciation is not great. It's not great at all, but it does go up. One of the houses we just remortgaged recently, I bought for 100K just over 2 years ago. TMW has revalued at 125, so that's not bad. But that could just be a reflection of the crazy prices we've had in the last 12 months or so. But that's the kind of appreciation I'm talking about. But you get a bit of appreciation, and your rent is always good. You can get it. You can rent for £500, £600 for a £110,000 property. That's very good. But the appreciation is not great. So that's the thing about this area.
Well, it's still, well, you still made, okay, fine, it's over 2 years, but if you're not looking to sell, you're not looking to flip, 25% of what you paid for the property, that's not too bad, is it? Especially on a consultant's salary.
I knew you were going to sneak that in at some point. Yeah, yeah. And the other thing also, a few of my colleagues have private practice where they do private consultation in private hospitals, but I've purposely declined to do that because again, my why is that I want to be in a place where I don't have to trade my time for money. I can do it now because this is my profession. Now, and it has worked out for me because I'm making similar, if not more, than my colleagues who have private practices, and they still have to. And I'm tax efficient more than them because they still have to trade their time for money. Um, in properties, you front load the time that you put in, and you just sit back and enjoy the money. So I purposely do not have a private practice. I've been in medicine for over 30 years, and I think it's okay if when I leave medicine, I can just go into properties. I'll always be a doctor, and I'll probably do a couple of days um, a week or something like that. But my passion, my heart now is in properties um, because it frees me up to do the things I really enjoy, which is helping people.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Now, do you know what? I nearly forgot to ask you this. So, when I was introducing you last week, I said next week we've got Mr. Now, can you just tell us why you doctors are so snobbish? So when you start out, you're really happy to be called doctor, and then as soon as you become a consultant, you're no longer a doctor, you're a mister. That's if you're male, obviously. What's the reasoning behind this?
Well, actually, is the surgeons. When I was in obstetrics and gynecology, yeah, as a surgeon, yes, I would be called Mister, but I've left that specialty now. So I'm actually still a doctor because I'm no longer a surgeon. I've dropped that bit of work. But if you are a surgeon, a consultant surgeon, it's Mister. It's a traditional thing because sometimes most of the surgeons go on to become professors if they're into academia, but not all. I actually don't know the origin of it, but in the past, surgeons are very they are alpha male. In the past, things have changed. Things have changed over the last couple of decades or 3 decades. When I was in medical school, a surgeon is like a god. Enters the theater, enters the ward, and just orders everybody around and talks to everybody. But all that is not that has changed now. You won't get away with that anymore. So the surgeons needed to they needed to separate themselves and say we are special, and that's I think that's the origin of the Mishnah. But
Okay,
yeah, it's
I
surgeons.
I didn't even realise it was just like the surgeons. I thought it was all consultants. So yet again, I learned something new on Clubhouse. Um, it so what would females be called?
Miss,
Oh,
Miss,
they're called Miss. Oh,
yes.
okay,
One
that's
of
a bit
one of yeah,
derogatory. Even if they're
No,
married, they're Miss.
yes, 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 yes. Actually, nowadays, things have changed. Societal values are changing. People can't be bothered anymore. I think that's just within the hospital premises now, unlike before, where you can take it outside. Uh, one of my one of the lady I really respected, really German lady. Uh, I actually trained under her as an obstetric and gynecology resident in Peterborough Hospital. Actually, really, really wonderful surgeon. Yeah, his nurse. There are some really, really wonderful surgeons. Very, very, very humble, and she knew her stuff. Um, yeah, so there are quite a few around here.
Wow. Now, I have a question for you that's come from someone in the audience. And the question is this: do you buy your properties through a limited liability company? And how does that affect your personal tax?
Yeah, since 2018, all of our properties are now in a limited liability company. But what I've done though is um, the simple, straightforward buy-to-let are in one company. HMOs are in one company. HMOs and commercial properties are in one company. And I'm looking to go, when I finish with the military, I'm looking to go into service accommodation, and that will be in another company. And there are reasons for that. I've I've kept, because if you don't have more than seven properties under your name, there's just no point um, transferring them to. I've done the sums. For me, it didn't work for me, so I've left those ones under my name, in my name, and I've got an accountant for that that sorts all that out. Um, it's not as tax efficient as those ones in the company, but it's still okay. Um, so yes, personally, moving forward, I think people should buy in limited liability company. It just has more tax efficiency. But what I must warn you though, so that you don't make the same mistakes some of us made, if if you're thinking ahead, if you know for sure, most people don't know, but if you know for sure that you're going to build an empire, you want 50 properties, 100 properties, if you know for sure, it's better to spend a bit of money and get the structure of your company right now. Don't just go online, pay your £12 and register the company, which you can do. No, don't do that. Go to the right people, to the right tax consultants, and barristers are also involved. So they can set up, if you have family as well, if you have children and wife and all of that, so they can set up the company properly. For example, my girls went to, a fee paying school. At some point, I was paying £12,000 a term for one child. So if I know what I know now, um, some of the money I was giving them in university and all of that could have been dividends or salaries if they were in the structure. So, so if you have family, and you have to give them money anyway, you can structure your company, and so they're part of the company, and you have the A, betas, ABC delta shares, and you can have a trustee shares as well. It's very complex, and I wouldn't want to go into that now, but just get the right people to advise you and set it up properly. It's going to cost you money, but set it up properly so you can get tax advantage. I know Patricia is into um, and some other people, one property, one company. There's a company called Get Ground. They do that as well. One property, one company. I'm not so sure of that. I don't know enough about that. But I just think it's an administrative nightmare if you have more than 20 properties. We've got over 40 rental units. It's going to be an administrative nightmare if you have each property for each company. I don't know how Patricia does it, but I know some people do that, and I know GetGround, does that for people. But the way I have done it is to have the vanilla ones in one company, the complex HMO commercial in one company, and if you're going to be doing this in another company, and build, because if you build up these companies and they become a huge assets, um, you know, you can do other stuffs with them when they are a formidable company. So yes,
Oh,
company.
thank you, thank you, thank you. No, with mine, I've not transferred anything that was in my personal name into a company. Because I used to work for HMRC, and I'm very very aware of anti-avoidance, general anti-avoidance rules, and it, it, I just think I suspect that there will be a lot of no, I don't know, but I wasn't prepared to do that myself. So the person's come back and said, how does it affect your personal income? Now, what I would say to the person is, a company is a different legal person in law. So when you do anything through a company, you're not treated as doing it yourself. You are, because the company is a different legal person. So the company is taxed as a company, and you are taxed as an individual. And what happens in the company does not necessarily affect what happens to you personally, unless you pay yourself from the company, or something like that. But if you ring fence what's happening in the company, it won't affect your personal tax. And a couple of weeks ago, it was in December, I had a lady on, Rosita, and she's a tax accountant, so she actually talked about this. So you may want to go and listen to that particular guest series podcast. So Rosita McGowan, and she spoke about taxation issues. So I was just literally just answering back something that was down in the back channel.
If I can
Um,
just add, Patricia, if I can just add to
yeah,
that, yeah, Rosita was quite good actually, and we talked about the smart company setup as well. But what you need to understand, if you are an additional taxpayer, you earn six figures and you earn above 150, you're going to be an additional taxpayer. You're probably paying 45 to 50% of your tax anyway. What you need to understand is this: um, any money, your company doesn't have any money. Well, mine has now, but in the first couple of years or 3 years, your company doesn't have any money. So any money you're using to buy houses for the company are directors' loans. Okay. So let's say, for example, I loan my company, Tosin Talabi loans my company limited £30,000 to buy a property. You have an agreement which the lender would see that the company is owing me 30K. So until the company pays all that money, off, you're not really liable to any corporation tax. So basically, you could have hundreds of thousands in the director's loan account being owed by the company, um, and you can be taking them little by little because it, it's a loan, it's not an income. So any money you take from that company is a loan repayment until the loan is paid off. Once the loan is paid off, then yes, any money you take out is taxable. So you need to get out the back of your mind. The company doesn't have money, so you're giving the company capital to start business. So money that is paid back to the director is not an income; it's a loan repayment.
yeah, yeah. That is actually really really helpful to use. So you then don't have to pay any tax on the monies that come out of the company to you, but the company itself will still have to pay tax on whatever it's earned and made a profit on. So yeah, so people just take advice. And also, and Rosita actually, she was talking about if you charge interest on these loans. And I said, I never charge interest on my loans to my companies, because I can't be, doing tax returns every quarter. And she said, oh, it's not too much of a problem. And I'm thinking, you're a tax accountant, it wouldn't be for you. So again, if you lend your company money, you can charge interest up to a certain amount. It has to be, something that HMRC will consider to be proper. And then, but you have to account for that interest quarterly because of the relationship that you have with that company. And I can't remember what the name of the tax return is. I think it might be CT61, something or other like that. and you have to do it. But then it's a personal choice. It depends on what you want to do. If you want to do it like that and you can do it, and it's no skin off your nose, then definitely, why not? But yeah, Rosita actually talks about all of that in detail. So again, that's really good. And do you know, I can't believe it. I've just looked at my time. It's been so fascinating just listening to you. I wasn't even keeping an eye on the time, and we've gone over 1 o'clock. We've gone past 1 o'clock. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. So, like I said, if people want to listen back, this will be on Clubhouse. It will be under Tosin's profile, under my profile, and under the club's profile, Maximising Property Pound, Pound, Pound. So the club is the club which has like the green little Monopoly thing at the top of my screen. And then it will be released as a podcast on Wednesday week. And it will be on there as a bonus scene. So, Tosin, thank you so much for doing this with me. And like I said before, if you're not already following Tosin, please just tap his face, follow him, message him if you'd like to ask him questions. He is very generous, and he is so lucky. He is in a giving mood. So, guys, don't. I like to laugh, and I'm just being me. So yes, do follow him and do learn from people who've done things before. Do that. And next week we've got second person actually that does commercial, Toyin Ayodari, and she is going to be on here, and it's going to be another interesting session. So if you're not, in fact, if you're doing anything next week, Wednesday, reschedule it and be here. Come here and come and listen to Toyin. But thank you very, very much for spending your afternoon with us. We really do appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you, Tosin. Thank you for taking the time out to come and do this with me.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys.